Mm.
Welcome to Two Gals in a Glass Half Full. We are two physical therapists, Dr. Jess and Dr. Bobbie, just trying to live healthy most of the time and doing our best to see our glasses as half full. Some days that is much harder than others. So we interview others more knowledgeable than us on different topics to teach us about things we do not know. And this month in November, we are talking about all different types of relationships. And I'm really excited about our guest today. But first, Dr. Jess, what do you have in your glass?
Well, today I am drinking a cup of coffee, but it's got the clinic logo on it. Look how pretty that is. Anyway, little half and half, little coffee, good to go. Dr. Bobbie, what's in your glass?
I am having some pomegranate kombucha.
I had that yesterday at lunch.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice. Yeah, it's good. It's good.
Yeah.
So hard to open, as we were saying.
It was, yeah. I had asked for help from a coworker, actually. So anyway, I'm going to let Dr. Bobbie introduce our guest today.
All right, so I'm really excited. Today we are going to talk to Jake and Birdie. They are my godparents, so they have known me my whole life. And I will let them start. And Jake or Birdie, if you'd like to say a little bit about yourself and a little bit of the history of you two.
Okay. Well, first of all, we were born and raised in Chicago. And I'll let Jake tell you how we met.
My friend Joe and I were waiting on the corner of Pullman and North Avenue to get a bus to go by his car. He couldn't drive a stick shift, and I could, so that's why we were there. And along comes, waiting for the bus, and along comes Birdie down North Avenue. And she knew Joe.
Mhm.
And so Joe introduced me to her. And I looked at her. She went up home to.
Hey, Birdie.
Yes.
Can you is it possible to move the computer a little closer so we can hear Jake better?
Okay, how's that?
All right, so you saw Birdie walking down the street, Jake, and then what did you say to Joe?
I said to Joe, wow, where did you know her? And evidently Joe and Birdie were in some kind of a social club. And he continued on up Holman Avenue and went home. At that time, she was working 3 different jobs. Couldn't get over such a busy girl.
I was only 15.
I was gonna say you're pretty young, working 3 jobs.
Yeah, she was. And then, second time I met her, we were on North Avenue Beach with this group of girls and boys. We all got together at Boston, and I saw her there, and I said, my friend Joe's mother has free tickets to the outdoor theater. Would you like to go with me? And she thought that was pretty nuts.
I should have known. Clear.
Should have known by the word a free date, right? He got these tickets for free and he wants to take you on your first date.
But, yeah. And he yells it across 2 blankets. You know, we were all on the beach and there were about 6 people between us. Okay.
You knew right then and there.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So then it worked out.
So how long have you guys been married?
58 years.
58 years. I don't know how she could put up with me for that long.
I don't know how either.
Oh,
Well, that's awesome. And I mean, I can tell you from somebody that, has not been married for nearly that long. That's something that obviously like I want, right? I want that for me. I want that for my husband. I want that for our kids as we're growing up. And so talking to people that have lived it is helpful. So the younger generation coming up is like, we have a model to follow, right? We have something to learn from. And so the idea with this episode today is to really like pick your brain a little bit. Like, how have you been able to accomplish this? It's so huge to be able to grow together for so many years. And so like that kind of goes into my next question of like, in that relationship, how have you, like, what are the ways that you've been able to grow together so that each phase of life you're in it, in it as a team?
First of all, she's a really good cook.
There we go. Good cook. That helps. I'm not that good of a cook. Uh-oh.
No, I think that you kind of have to live in the moment and try to enjoy the time, that you're in, not worry too much about the past. And we usually try to find humor in almost every situation.
As you can tell.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
I like that. I think living in the moment is something that I know I struggle with, always trying to like, well, we got to do this. We got to get, ready for that and prepared for this. And, all sorts of, just the busyness of, raising a family and, business related efforts. But like, that's where some of the mindfulness that Bobbie and I have both started doing has been helpful for me, to be more grounded and present. So I think I'm glad that you're kind of echoing that that's helpful.
Mhm.
So so for those out here, because we all know, like, a lot of times we think of relationships, we think of being married 58 years, like, oh, it's all good, da da da. And we know that disagreements arise with anyone that loves someone. Obviously, there's going to be a time in our life where we don't disagree or we don't agree on something. So for you and Jake, when you maybe don't agree on a topic or agree on a decision, what are strategies that you found that were most helpful for you to, still have a healthy relationship, but allow some disagreements in there?
Well, when
She always says, this is stupid. She always calls me, listen.
I don't know why I keep laughing at his old jokes because I heard them a million times. Anyway, I think communication really is the key there. Jake, I have to get over his "it's my way or the highway" type of thing. And you have to be willing to listen to the other person's views, but be able to state your case and still show respect for your partner. And sometimes you just have to walk away for just a few minutes. But I would not walk away permanently, because I think it's very important that when you have an issue, to get it settled as soon as you can and not let it grow and fester.
I agree.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, there's that phrase, like, don't go to bed angry,
Yes, exactly.
Works for us.
Right. There's so much truth to that. And walking away, I think, is also a sign of mindfulness, of recognizing I'm not quite ready to engage in this conversation, because you just you're a little bit too emotional about it, maybe.
Right.
I know that happens to me.
Yeah, you may say something hurtful when you really don't want to.
Right.
So
Yeah.
think about it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What's my intention right now? Is my intention to be mad and vengeful? Well, that's not going to get me anywhere. Right. So my intention needs to be, I want my point to be heard, but I also need to hear the other side. So until I'm ready for that intention, then it's like, maybe I should go for a run, go for a walk, get out in the garden and just clear my head. And then, okay, now I have a better, more deliberate, oh gosh, sorry.
Right.
Sorry. Storm surge warning. Sorry. We're in Florida and there's, all sorts of weather out there. So yeah.
Go somewhere and cover up.
Yeah, it's not right now. It's coming in the future. Welcome to living near the coast. It's kind of scared me though.
Oh, so as your marriage, as you guys grew in your, I'm going to change the question. Kind of talk to us first about how your marriage has changed through the decades. So like from obviously your 20s and 30s to now, how has it changed and how has the relationship changed?
Do you want
No, you
to say
can.
anything about that? Well, I think probably the main thing is that you both kind of mellow over the years and you kind of grow more together, I think, than apart because you get to know each other so well and stuff like that. And I think I have earned Jake's respect as the year goes by.
No doubt.
And as his illness has progressed, we've kind of had to change roles a little bit. And that's hard for him, you know, to let go because he's been such a strong person all his life and stuff like that. And it's kind of a role reversal a little bit. So,
Mhm.
but that's just really the last few years.
Mhm.
Other than the last few years, you know, we always had really divided duties. Like young Jake took a psychology course in high school once, and they gave him a sheet of paper with 25 things on that the man in the house should do and the woman in the house should do. And the only thing that we did together was get the mail.
Yeah.
You know, I take care of the house and the kitchen. I stay out of his garage. He stays out of my kitchen, and we're
Yeah.
What's wrong with that?
Hey, there's nothing wrong. It works.
Works for
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And it's just finding kind of like what works for each person and each couple. And
Yeah.
and that's I think that's awesome because everyone's a little bit different, but there's a lot to like know from. I think a lot with that is knowing expectations too.
Yes, yes, that's exactly right. And your limitations,
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
and be able to talk about that too, you
Mhm.
know. So,
Yeah, the other word, yeah, I'm hearing respect a lot as well. That I think a lot of what happens sometimes with relationships is that there really isn't equal mutual respect, and without that mutual respect, then it's going to be very hard to grow together. One person's more of the leader, one's the follower, but someone's only going to follow for so long, and
that's right,
then it turns into this imbalance.
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So you
Right.
can have different roles, different interests, different everything can be, you can have your own thing, but there still has to be respect. And
Yes,
I've
but I
seen that in
also
group
think it
text.
helps to have, even though, you know, we kind of have different interests and all that, you have to have at least something that you can do together as a family unit. And as Bobbie knows, in our case, it's been cars. And that has been the basis of our family for a very long time. And having two boys, they kind of, you know, fell right into that. And we're fortunate that that was kind of my interest also. So that kind of gelled into a lifestyle, actually.
Mhm.
Awesome. And so what did you do with cars?
Well, we were into Corvettes. In fact, that's how we met Bobbie's family. We purchased our first Corvette from the place where her dad worked.
Mhm.
And they became friends because he kept hanging around the place and bringing them cookies. He was a Nabisco salesman.
Uh-huh.
And he was known as the Cookie Man. And we just became friends after that and with the family. And I would consider them our closest friends. And that is a family thing. I mean, our boys now are 48 and 52. And I think that they still consider Stretch and Cindy more, they're closer to them than they are to their own aunt and uncles.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I agree with
Stretch is my dad's nickname in the car Corvette world. Because at one point my dad was like really tall and really skinny. Not so much anymore.
So I think that helps to solidify a relationship if you have at least one common ground, you know, where the whole family can take part. Like the kids grew into it. There were always kids hanging out in our garage and
it. And we went
everything.
to Corvette shows.
Yeah, we
and
went to Corvette shows
and stuff like that.
and we developed a lot of really wonderful friends through
From
that
those
hobby.
places.
Right, that lifelong friends. You know, we've known them for 45 years.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I think that helps solidify a marriage also.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially in a family as well, with
Right.
including the kids as well. So that's
Mhm.
great. Yeah. Very cool. As far as like young relationships, what's like a piece of advice that you would give if somebody, if if there's like a new budding relationship that they're like starting to make it kind of serious. Like,
Jake, you wanna say?
No.
I think that it's important to have, and I don't think we were really aware of this when we were young, but looking back, I think it's important to have compatible long-term goals, like
Yes.
how you handle the money, who handles the money, do you, your lifestyle, like it wouldn't be good if someone is a stay-at-home type and likes to just stay at home, and other people like to go out and party and stuff like that. So it helps that you are both kind of on the same page as far as that goes.
mhm,
I think you have to talk about religion, uh, having children. Do you want children even? And once the children come, kind of how you raise them, that could be a big divider in marriages we've seen. So
mhm.
those are big things that just kind of came naturally to us, I
Yeah.
think.
Well, we were lucky with boys.
Yes.
If there were a boy and a girl, between us.
Yeah, that may but I think those are the things that are important that you have to talk about. Yes, opposites attract. As far as personality goes, Jake was really more outgoing and I was, more the quiet type and stuff. But we both probably preferred to stay home. Not to saying we never partied. We had a lot of parties at our house over the years and everything, but they were always with friends and
Mhm.
everything. We never did the bar scene, or
No.
neither one of us were ever interested in that.
Mhm.
And I think that helps to have that kind of compatibility. And also, we had a neighbor in Darien who said, and this was really true, that you have to marry someone whose faults you can tolerate, and vice versa, because there is no perfect person, there is no perfect marriage, and you just, there's a lot of truth in that. You
Yes,
got to
there is.
learn to, adjust and live and stuff like that. Otherwise, and look at it this way, nobody is happy 100% of the time. There's no perfect marriage.
No.
Even in your job, even though you love your jobs, once or twice a year, I'm sure you say to yourself, I want to quit this, I want to get out of it, blah, blah, blah. But it passes. And that's the same thing in a marriage. It has its up and it has its down. And like you were saying when we were talking this morning, that you got to stick with it.
Mhm.
That's the thing. I think when we were married about 15 years or so, I even considered divorce. At that time, Jake was a very successful salesman. He was out of town a lot. He went to a lot of sales meetings, and he was good about contacting me, calling me up when I was home with two little kids and saying, yeah, I had filet mignon for dinner. We had drinks afterwards. And, that kind of, hits you right in your heart and I love my kids and everything. And I was fortunate enough to stay home for 10 years when they were little, before they went to school and all that. But sometimes you have to realize that you cannot live vicariously through your partner. You have to kind of make a life, or not a separate life, but you have to find your little niche. And I think really what saved our marriage is when I went back to work.
Yes,
Mhm.
I agree.
And he was not happy with it. He was totally against it. The only way he would allow me to go to work is if his lifestyle didn't change. And so that changed a lot. The kids helped a lot with the chores. He became more
That changed a
tolerant.
lot. That changed our marriage a lot.
Yes, it did. I was not, living through him so much, waiting for him to come home and tell me all he did in the outside world and stuff. Because as you know, when you have toddlers, you're pretty insulated if you stay home.
Right.
So that's
Jess
the
would
only
know
thing
that.
I
that's
tell
the
people
only,
like I live under a rock. I don't get out much.
Yeah.
They're like, do you know about this going on or that going on? I'm like, no.
the 70s are a total blur for
Yes.
us. We don't know
Both of
anything
us.
about what happened in the 70s.
Both of us.
So
Yeah.
that's the only thing I could suggest too, is that even, you don't lead separate lives, but I think you have to find your niche where you find some outlet, some positive strokes, some interest,
Mhm.
because sewing, knitting, crocheting,
Only go so
and
far.
taking care of the kids and all that, that only kind of, at least for me,
Mhm.
as much as I love the kids and as much of a homebody and home person I am, that helped a lot.
Mhm. Yeah, and
Mm.
I can totally value you going back to work. I think that's something that I struggled on maternity leave. Like, is this the right thing for me?
Right.
To drop my baby off with somebody
Yeah, I couldn't
and go
do
to
that.
work.
Yeah.
No, we
Yeah.
couldn't do that.
Yeah.
Um,
Somebody else take care of
yeah,
Mhm.
and part of it is the world we're in now. I mean, you kind of have to, like, we need two incomes in the household in order
Yeah.
to uh afford life. I mean, life
Yeah.
is really expensive.
Yeah,
And yeah,
it was not easy those 10
yeah,
years I
it.
was
No,
home financially, that's for sure.
yeah.
I remember taking gas from the lawnmower and putting it in the car and,
Mm-hmm.
you did I made almost all the kids Christmas presents and
Mm-hmm.
birthday presents and stuff because you couldn't afford it.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's there's a lot of sacrifice that is made. I will say, like, for me as a female that has gone through graduate school, using my brain in different ways gives me purpose and value, and it would be very hard for me to stay home.
Yeah.
And even though there's guilt and everything surrounded by that, I, as an individual, am a more well-rounded and happier individual
Yes.
when I have those other roles.
Yes.
And so something that my husband and I had to work through. We had to figure out what was going to be
That's
the
exactly
best,
it.
get everybody's needs met, you know?
Yeah.
but we gotta
Um,
do.
Yeah.
but
When I
it's
went
tough.
to work and all that, it was shocking. I came home and I said to my husband, people are actually listening to me. They're actually taking my advice.
Right. Yeah.
That was really a new experience for it, that I was getting paid for my viewpoints and what I had to say. I felt I had value,
Right.
more value, yeah,
Right.
when I went to work, I guess, I don't know.
Well, I
But
think sometimes we take for granted the advice family gives us, whether it's a parent, whether it's a significant other, a child,
oh yeah,
it comes a little differently than like a coworker,
yeah,
something like that once
or
in
a
a while.
boss, yeah, or a boss, yeah, that's true. Anyway, that's how we managed all
Hmm.
these years.
Yeah. No, I love that. And I love the growth that's happened, like each of those phases, right? It's like, well, before
Yeah,
you had kids, it's like, yeah, it was like you're younger, doing all the fun, stuff before kids. And then with kids, I mean, it's a tough time. I mean, you really have to, especially when they're young, like you really need to not lose yourself in that, because they require so much effort.
yeah, it's hard not to lose yourself in that, yeah.
Yeah, I know I've got a number of friends that, we're all in the same boat, with young kids, and so it's a bit of a constant effort to make sure that we're keeping each other supported, and that mindset of like, I'm not crazy, right? Like, like,
That's very important too. We had a group of neighbors who we were in a brand new neighborhood and all of us were in the same boat type of thing.
yeah,
And we traded off babysitting duties if you had to go to the dentist or doctor or had a
yeah.
funeral or something. It's very important what you said about having a really good support group.
Hmm. Yeah, and
Um,
like you can have your marriage is important, but then also like what is also in that network, and having that healthy network, I think is important. Like as a female, in the marriage, there's a different kind of network sometimes that's helpful. And then as a male, sometimes it can be a little bit of a different network. They can be the same, it could be other married couples, but then sometimes I think it is nice to have those separate outlets as well, just as an individual. And so that you're constantly fulfilled. And then if your husband's constantly fulfilled with other interpersonal relationships, then I think it's easier to be supportive of each other.
Right.
Well.
And with this, the women and I, did the kids thing and trading off and all that. But then we would get together with the men and have parties or go downtown or do something like that too. So it was kind of a whole neighborhood type thing.
Yeah, which is great. I love that's our neighborhood is very similar. We've got a bunch of other families, and so it's I can, hey, I'm going to be out in the backyard, send your daughter over if she wants to play outside. That way you get your stuff done inside, I'm out here so she can come run around or whatever it might be, and vice versa. Yeah.
And Jake traveled a lot. We had a lot of neighborhood sleepovers.
Yeah.
Dog birthday parties and all sorts of things. It was a nice neighborhood for kids to grow up in.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's so fun.
And you miss it, now that our kids are older and our grandson is even 22 years old, we miss going to his ball games and all his activities. So you have that to look forward to, going to not only your kids, but your grandchildren's activities, which are really fun.
Right. Yeah. And then like that, each of those phases, I think like I appreciate what you're saying, kind of being in the moment and present, because when you take the time to step back and realize like, this is really awesome, even though sometimes it's overwhelming and maybe you don't get as much sleep or, new time or whatever it might be, like in that day, like there really is positive. And it's like, when you really step back and think about it, it's like, today was a good day. Like, we had some big wins today. And even if the big win might be like, I don't know, like we did poop in the potty and not in the pants. I mean, but like, that might be like, yeah, we've been working on this for like months,
But that's the thing. Think about it. Everybody will tell you, and you won't agree with it. Enjoy your children while they're here. In your lifetime, your kids are only with you 20 of those years. That's a very short time in your lifespan. So we didn't believe it when people said it. When you're changing poopy diapers and all that, it's hard to say, enjoy this time.
You're like, really?
But in retrospect, that is really true. Your kids are with you such a short time in your lifespan. It's very important to enjoy them and do the best you can with them, because it really builds the relationships that when they're older.
Right.
And with our two boys, we couldn't ask for two better sons ever.
Look at Bobbie.
Yeah, Bobbie too.
Look at Bobbie.
Right.
Yeah. Invest in those godchildren as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I like it. I like it.
Sometimes when she was a little girl.
Yeah. Well, perfect. Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing all of those bits of wisdom with us. I think it's something that I was able to talk with my grandparents about before they passed away. And it really stuck with me with the advice that they gave me prior to me entering my own marriage. And I know not everybody has that opportunity to talk to somebody that has real life perspective.
Thank
And
you for having us.
Right. Yeah. And feel free to bleep anything you want.
I mean, what you're saying is that it only makes sense, right? I mean, it's worked for you and it makes sense.
What I see is it don't happen to everybody. And run with it. Okay, this is my life. And that's it. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
Works for us.
Yeah, but we're kind of very down to earth,
Yes,
very
we are.
practical, common sense people too.
Right.
We're not neuroscientists or anything.
Right.
You're
But, yeah.
Tough
I
little
love it.
boy, strong like bull.
I should say, and you can bleep this out, don't ever marry a Dutch person.
I've heard that one a few times.
Yeah.
Okay, Justin, I hope we get to meet you in person someday. I know Bobbie has enjoyed your friendship and everything over the years, and for that, we appreciate you.
Oh,
Get
for
away
sure.
from the storm.
Right.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Well, we're getting prepped for the storm, so there's all that fun stuff. But yeah, and hopefully I'll be up in Chicago. We'll see. We've got my husband's family is up that way, so we try and get up there about once a year.
Okay.
We'll visit.
So when will this be aired, Bobbie, so I can write it down?
Uh,
It'll be aired in 10 minutes.
Or just let us know. ahead
we'll
of
let
time.
you, it's in November.
Okay. All right. And
right.
again, if you don't feel you can use it, we're not upset about it.
Oh my
Thank you,
gosh, it
Birdie.
was so good, Birdie. So
Okay.
good.
Thank you, girls.
Bye
All
bye.
right, bye.